What's up, dudes and dudettes of the internet? My name's Seth, and today we're going to be taking a look at World to the West. Honestly speaking, folks, going right into it, I highly recommend this game if you like adventure games, because there's going to be 4 different characters, and I'll load up my later file just so I can kind of show you them a little bit later, because otherwise I'm going to show you kind of the beginning and intro and stuff. There's 4 different characters in this game, all written very, very well. The game is very, very entertaining, has a great story. Each of the characters kind of has their own goal and objective that they're trying to do, and all of their goals kind of end up meeting up together, and then they all kind of end up partying up together, right? Each of them also ends up having completely different abilities and skill sets. One of them might actually be really, really good at fighting enemies and stuff, while another one might only end up stunning enemies and is more focused on puzzles and stuff like that. The reason why I highly recommend this game, though, is because it's developed ingeniously. Like, all I can really say is the design of this game is absolutely brilliant, because we've got this huge area, an open world area that we can end up exploring. But at the same time, you're going to be limited to going to certain areas based on certain abilities, and the game flawlessly does a very cool way of having, like, you'll have, like, one character over in this section in the story, and then you kind of warp over to another character over in another section, and then they kind of end up meeting together, and thus a new pathway ends up opening up just because of the fact that they both can combine their abilities, right? So right now we're being taught, like, just the most basic of basic, which is this character's ability to teleport over ledges, because the other characters would just end up jumping down. There's going to be another character that is going to actually be able to throw kind of a whip and pull herself across like Indiana Jones, right? The story of this character is that we're actually trying to kind of follow our father. I guess these are our siblings or whatever. And I want to also say that the game does a fantastic job showing you where to go. The world itself can end up being quite confusing at some points, but like that, where it's like it shows these other kids teleport through the bars, thus teaching the player that you can always teleport through bars, right? So as we're going over here, this is gonna be kind of like a big portal, which is kind of like in the role play of the world, like it's a teleporter, and we're kind of a Tesla character, so we use electricity and stuff like that, right? And we end up going through this teleporter, and things end up going wrong. Then there's going to be another character where it's just like a little kid that's kind of being extorted by the big bad guy, who thinks he's actually on the moon while he's like, meanwhile he's just digging and mining and stuff. Anybody who's ever grown up with the Secret of Mana games, and I'm talking the old one on the Super Nintendo, you're going to be right at home with this game, because all the characters really, really remind me of those characters. So it's like the little kid is kind of like the little kid from Secret of Mana, and you kind of focus on like digging and dwarven style underground stuff, right? So they think they're on the moon, then he finds out that he's not on the moon, and everybody thinks he's crazy, so the little kid kind of goes off on his own little adventure, and then kind of meets with one of the other characters. Then there's going to be a mercenary where her, you know, her interests end up lining up with these other characters just because the big bad guy ends up kind of betraying her. These are minor spoilers, but most of all, when you get to the characters, you'll see what ends up happening. Our character here is trying to fix the teleporter so that we can end up getting back home. And then there's gonna be my favorite character, which is a big brute character, and he just beats things up. Like, that's his mission in life, and the reason that he's even on this island in the first place is just to prove how strong he is. And that's all there is to it, you know? So it's really, really cool and interesting. This character also can read these ancient runes, while other characters cannot. So again, has a really nice flow to it in terms of like each of the characters having their own personality, and that's something that I feel is very difficult for games in this day and age to actually end up doing, is to actually, you know, have personality, and this one's got it in droves, dude. So anyways, this is going to be one of the crazy killer creatures that you see a lot of on the island. It's just gonna end up becoming a very basic enemy. Each of the enemies do have their own indicators as to when they're gonna attack and stuff, so you can end up learning their patterns. That guy, he's gonna kind of sharpen his teeth every time, or grit his teeth anytime he's gonna actually charge at you. And the mercenary character actually has a very, very interesting ability where you can whip and then control an enemy. So you can actually do that with every type of enemy in the game. thus adding even more to the puzzle aspect of the environment, because only certain creatures might be able to get through certain areas, right? And you kind of combine these abilities flawlessly with all the other characters. Like, I cannot stress enough how extremely well designed this game is, especially for an indie game. It's been a long time since I played a game that was this interesting, you know? So here's going to end up being the kid. They're kind of talking about how there's a hole with light coming down. And again, they think they're on the moon. So he's sitting there just saying, like, what is this? How come I'm not falling out into outer space, right? Because they're innocent little kids. So already they teach us a mechanic where this kid can end up crawling through pipes. Well, crawling through little holes, I guess I should say, not necessarily pipes. You guys go ahead and do whatever you're doing. You can also end up kind of moving the camera around and stuff like that. One thing that I just find a little bit difficult about this game sometimes is where to actually go, because the map itself is pretty crazy, dude. So there, like, this entire screen right here is the map. You can see this is the only area that we've actually explored. However, that's the underground map, and then here's the surface map. So there is a lot to this game, and every time you end up, like, you're gonna end up going to these runes, kind of exploring them with each of the different characters, and then you're gonna end up getting, like, kind of ancient artifacts that are going to completely, you know, give you a very, very unique new ability, which is so cool. Like this kid, for example, he has trouble with water. I mean, I guess all the characters do, but once you end up getting his artifact ability, hashtag spoilers, you're gonna actually be able to create, like, kind of skate on ice and kind of create an ice pathway over the water and stuff. So really, really interesting and really, really cool. So now that we've actually gotten our shovel, they're trying to show us this, which is one of the defensive abilities that you end up using as this character, is anytime you're on, like, certain dirts and stuff like that, you're gonna be able to actually dig underneath it and then just burrow like a, you know, like a mole or something like that. So this is gonna be the character that's gonna get really angry at us. He doesn't like what we're doing. I would love to do a Let's Play series on this game in the future, if I possibly can. I'm trying very slowly to end up beating the game off camera on my own time, though, just to see how fast I can actually end up getting through it. And again, because I have difficulty navigating some of the environment and stuff like that, I want to try and get that experience under my belt first, and then we'll see what ends up happening. Like, if this game's gonna take like 50 hours to get through or something, you know, I'm not gonna end up doing it, but I'm just saying that I would very much like to, so hopefully it's something that you all would find interesting later on. So now we ended up getting banished. Cue the sad MLG air horn, and then as we end up going down here, this is kind of what I mean, where I already explored all of this stuff, because you could have already explored this without the tools. And I tend to be very unlucky in regards to going the wrong way, right? So I want to kind of point this out here just because I think it's interesting, because we're not going to get to experience it today. So that big bruiser, beautiful, tough guy, he actually comes into this cave way, way later to fight that strong, gigantic Grue enemy right there. I think they're called Grues. And with it, whoopsie daisy, where do we actually go? See, this is what I mean. Oh, there we go. And that's kind of what he uses to kind of prove to high society that he's a powerful character. And that's, you know, like, it's like, I just find those characters, the characters, so funny. So we got another one right there. A lot of this character involves stealthing around and sneaking and stuff like that, right? So another thing, too, that I think is really interesting, hopefully it would end up, like, maybe a little bit later into the game, I would like to see that fixed. There's Dynamite. You get that as one of his other abilities way later on. That's gonna be his main attack. Because right now, if we hit things with a shovel, it's just gonna stun them. Whoopsie daisy. No! I'm too weak! No! He's got me in the corner! Oh man, sometimes that just ends up happening and there's not really anything you can do about it. So the game's pretty good for when you do die. We only ended up respawning like a little ways back, and yeah, I wasn't supposed to actually dig like I just did right there. I was supposed to have snuck around like I just did. What I want to show you is kind of this last area right here. Here, by the way, is kind of like where the game starts taking a turn for the more difficult because of the stealthing with this character. Man, he's too slow. Okay, so they can't actually get through the holes, so we are doing just fine. Come on, dude, follow me around, you big ugly freak. Woo! It's a good thing they're stupid, like seriously. we're gonna end up getting to kind of the main story character, right? And this is where the game ends up being like that thing that I mentioned where it's a little bit tedious. I would like to see kind of a better implementation of that, but it's not too bad because the game itself kind of seems to drag itself out in a lot of ways by having longevity as far as the gameplay is concerned. Because this totem that you see right here, which actually has the head of all the different heroes, all 4 of them, is going to act as a fast travel point. Now the thing is that we're going to have to get and activate this fast travel point with each of the individual characters. So in that, it makes the game a lot longer than it should be in some cases. It's all fine because, you know, the whole challenge of the game is you might navigate through one area, get to the fast travel point with one character, and then another character goes through that same area, but their pathway is slightly different just to end up getting to the same fast travel point. So, you know, in that regard, it can feel, I guess I should say, it feels like it's kind of dragging it out, but in a lot of ways, you know, it still is unique and new gameplay, so it's perfectly fine. So this can be the mercenary character. I'm actually noticing we're doing pretty good on time just because I'm rushing through all of this. She can sprint around, so of course she's going to be very, very easy for navigating the environment. This is that high society that I mentioned earlier where the big bruiser character is going to end up navigating into. And he's such a funny character, dude. Like, I wish I could show off a little bit more of his dialogue, but that's okay. So now they're trying to actually show us the map because now we have to navigate this character all the way up to this temple, and then we end up getting one of the artifacts that we then end up bringing back to this dude. It's not an artifact that this character can use, however. It's just going to end up, or maybe it is the one that this character can use. I'm not exactly sure. But it's going to end up being like a little bit later on where we're going to be playing as the mage character and kind of we're going to end up going into that rune and she's going to be all like, oh, where is this thing? So then we kind of revisit the same area, but it's slightly different. So again, extremely well designed, but can sometimes feel a little bit abrasive, you know? So now we actually ended up bringing this character over here, and she's gonna end up talking to these 2 characters, and this is gonna be where the game is going to first introduce kind of using the co-op mechanic, where we're going to have to actually use the little kid in order to navigate this character into the new area. So we're not necessarily going to be able to get all the way into that shrine, or into the next rune that we're supposed to do with this character, but, you know, we'll kind of get through this next puzzle section. I don't know why I remembered going down. I guess I was wrong about that, sorry. I want to kind of navigate a little bit through this area, and then maybe we'll end up loading the file, loading my other file, just so I can show you the big bruiser character. Whoopsie daisy! Why can we not do anything right now? We're supposed to. Oh, jeez, whoopsie daisy. Okay, that's my bad. See, that's kind of what I mean, where you can very easily like miss things. Especially, I miss things underground like crazy because of how dark it actually is down here. So, anyways, there was the key that we were supposed to have grabbed the whole time. Rip me. And then we end up coming down here. And we need a key that is over through this little thing. However, we have to navigate up and over here so that we can have the character say that she can't actually move this block and get to the key because she's just, you know, at the wrong angle for it. So we navigate our way back. And now the other characters, you know, the game again instructs the player that you can actually use those as fast travel points because they teleported over here. I don't know how the kid ended up teleporting to this totem without actually gathering it and unlocking it though, but hey, whatever. You can pause the video anytime that you want to actually like see the story and stuff like that. So that's going to be where the little kid has to go now, because each of the objectives are going to end up actually being different in a lot of cases. You might have 2 characters combined to go in one area, 3 of them combined to go this area, you know, and so on and so forth. The game does a very brilliant job of navigating all of that, right? Whoopsie daisy. So there we're going to navigate into him. And then we just crawl through here, move the block out of the way. There you go, stop that. And then we just navigate right back into her. Whoopsie daisy, I guess, yeah, that's right. So you have to change the characters through the totem, because otherwise you're just talking to the other characters and then getting more and more dialogue, right? So I don't think that we need to necessarily go into this next area as the kid until a little bit later, if my memory serves correctly. But I want to show you this just because I'm pretty sure we're gonna get our new ability very soon. See, now we're actually playing as this, now we're actually doing that. And then if we swap back over to the kid, like we unlock that fast roll point. Now we're actually him back in here. So that's kind of what I mean, where it can be a little bit difficult, or not a little bit difficult, a little bit annoying sometimes to navigate the same character over to the spot you just got to, right? But otherwise they want us to like use the little kid to kind of navigate through the environment here, digging under stuff and so on and so forth. And well, very, very soon we would end up actually getting the ability for our other character. Whoopsie daisy, I think that's a completely wrong map. Yes, it is. But we would end up getting the ability where we would whip an enemy and then it would transform ourselves into that enemy. So let me just load my other file right here. You can see I've got a little bit more of the map. Also, as you're out exploring the world, you're going to end up finding pretty much the equivalent of heart containers. So certain characters, again, where this game is designed very brilliantly, because certain characters are going to be able to get to a specific certain heart container or extra health item, while another character is not. So it does a very good job of kind of not letting you have one character that you just focus on and get extremely overpowered, right? So let's actually swap over to the big guy right here. And he's gonna be, you know, as you're kind of playing with him further and further on, eventually you're gonna unlock the ability to climb ledges and stuff. He's gonna be a full-on fighter character, so he's actually the best when it comes to combat. You're gonna want to try and avoid combat with the other characters in most cases, just because this guy, like, fights so much better than the others. And he's also going to have a dash ability. So one of the things that he's going to do is anytime you see something that's chained up, he's gonna be able to physically punch his way through it, whereas the other character you saw, we whip our way across ledges, and then the other mage girl teleports over ledges and stuff like that, and then the little kid ends up digging under and stuff. And then of course it's gonna get more and more complicated. So like here, the little kid character could end up going over all of the water and stuff like that, while the mercenary character could end up grappling over to certain ledges and stuff. And generally speaking, it's just really, really cool. He also, this character also gets the ability to smash rocks a little bit later on. So extremely well-designed game. I know I just keep saying that, but really check this game out for yourselves. The links will be in the description for this game, so you can check it out for yourselves, folks. I definitely recommend it. I'm still trying to play through it on my off time, but I don't really have that much free time, so it's a very slow process. Again, I would love to do a Let's Play series of this game, but I honestly don't know if I have the time right now. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. I would very much appreciate it if you would like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. Sign on and stay epic, everybody.